It's fifth grade exhibition time at Mountainview Elementary. Hello again, everybody. My name is Dale Caffey, proudly reporting from the library at Mountainview Elementary, where in just a moment you're going to see some fifth graders in action with their research projects. First of all, I want to introduce you to Melissa Reese. She is the IB coordinator here at Mountainview. Mountainview, of course, is an international baccalaureate primary years program school, and we're so proud of this school and what it has done the past several years. Melissa, you're actually new to Mountainview. Talk a little bit about your first year at this wonderful campus and where you came from.
Okay. Well, I recently came from Killeen ISD. I was a fourth grade teacher there. I've been with PYP and knowledgeable of IB for 9 years. And so coming into this campus, it was like coming into a new home for me. Everybody's been so friendly and welcoming, and I've really enjoyed getting to know everybody here.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about the IB program, and specifically let's talk about exhibition time for fifth graders. What is this all about?
This is big for us. This is something that all fifth graders do in their last year here at a PYP campus. And so it is an action-based research project that we usually give them a topic, which is rights in our world right now, and it's under the Who We Are transdisciplinary theme. And they take something that interests them from our discussions, and they do an action-based research project over it. And they've been doing it now for the past 6 weeks, and it's been a wonderful experience for all of them. They're very proud right now.
These students that we're going to see in just a moment operate in 4-member teams. Talk a little bit about how those teams came together.
Okay. Well, after we had our basic introduction to the topic of what it was going to be over, and they looked into things that interest them, then they were grouped together by interest in between the 3 classrooms. So then after that, they got together as a collaborative group and did all of their research together.
That took a little coordinating in and of itself, didn't it? Because it's not just one classroom.
It was 3, and we had to definitely work our times together. It was a little bit harder, but we managed to work it all in together, and they've been a wonderful team. And getting to know other people in other grades, other grade level, have been great.
What was very remarkable to me as we looked at these teams in action is the fact of how well they get along with each other, and they all have a specific goal in mind, and that is to get a good grade on this.
That's right. It is a part of their grade, but it's also something that they are very prideful of. This is a big piece for them. They know this has been coming for a while. It's a rite of passage for our fifth graders into the next part of their education, so this is something that they are very excited to share with everybody. So I think they're very mature in this presentation, and they've grown up a lot the past 6 weeks to do this.
I would imagine so, and let's talk about that because they transition into middle school, and so they need the tools of research as they matriculate on through high school and on to college.
Absolutely. Research is big for us, and so and just anybody in general, if you're going to move on, you definitely need to know how to research, and also just have a voice. You know, find something that you find interest in and have a voice over, and take an action on. You know, we really want our kids to focus on action. We want them to be a part of our world, to be internationally minded in our world, and to definitely take a stand with whatever their beliefs are.
You have been around IB for quite a number of years now. Does it never cease to amaze you some of the projects that the kids do and what they learn?
Oh, it's amazing what they share. You know, 6 weeks ago we would never thought they would be here right now, but it is amazing to see them perform today and tonight for our families, and it's going to be a wonderful experience.
That's right. We gave them a little bit of a practice session here in front of the camera, but talk a little bit about how the parents are going to come out in droves tonight.
Yes, tonight we're going to offer 2 different sessions for children to share. It starts at 6:15, and then they're going to do some rotations, and we're going to allow parents to see everybody present. So it's going to be a wonderful time, and very prideful in our students for that.
And in the presentations we're about to see, we have a display board, but also they've incorporated some technology as well. Talk about some of the requirements they had.
Along with research, technology for our 21st century learners is vital nowadays. And so it is important for them to have that piece in their presentations. And they're going to need that all through middle school, high school, hopefully college, and any type of trade they're in. Technology is a vital part of that. So it's definitely a big piece for us here, and it's definitely a part of their grade. That was a component to it.
Wonderful. Melissa Reese, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you for introducing us to the children we're about to see. Once again, please sit back, relax, and enjoy these wonderful research projects by fifth graders at Mountainview PYP.
Foster care. The reason we chose foster care for our exhibition project is we feel people should know more about it.
What is foster care? Foster care is a temporary home for kids. It is where kids go when in a bad situation. Foster care is a system that gives kids better and safer homes.
Why are kids in foster care? Kids are in foster care because they don't have a family to take care of them. Either their parents give them up or the children are removed from the parent because they are in a bad situation. Some kids go to foster care because they are neglected or abused. Neglect means to be ignored or to not be taken care of for a long period of time. Abuse means to be treated horribly or to be hit for no reason. They also go there because some parents don't have enough money to take care of the child anymore. How can a foster child change a person's life? By having a son or daughter, it can brighten a person's life. It can also change a foster child's life because it gives a kid a good, loving home and family. It can also make you feel like a hero because you take care of a child who has been neglected or abused.
How do we know that foster care is giving kids good homes? They know that they're giving them good homes because candidates must go through a background check and they look into their income. All parents go through some special training to become a foster parent. The parents go through 30 hours of parenting classes. They go through CPR and first aid training to become a foster home for children.
How can we help foster kids? One way to help foster kids is by volunteering at a local foster care organization. Donating toys, blankets, and school supplies can help change a kid's life. You can also take a foster care child and take him or her as your own. This requires going through a process. As so, you can also mentor a child.
How does foster care work in the U.S.? To adopt a foster child, you need to make sure that their emotional, medical, dental, and school needs are met. They need food and clothing day to day. They also need love and attention just like all children.
Facts. 463,000 kids are in foster care in the U.S. alone. 15.3 million kids are in foster care around the world. As you see in the graph below, kids are being physically abused more than they should be, and that's not good.
All the ghosts that have haunted me have gone and taken flight. So take this and have faith that you will make it through, because I know just how you feel. I was once there too.
And the poem and the illustration were both made by a foster child.
And we also have a video to show you.
My mom never fed us. It was hard. Your mouth was always dry. My siblings cried and begged for food. They were scared, they were hungry, they were always crying. And I got enough money to get them food, clothing. It was hard because nobody really cared for them. And it was hard for me to provide because I was only 11. I was at summer school and a police car showed up with a DHS worker, and they came in and talked to me and said that we're leaving. I could hear my sisters crying before they got in the car. They kept saying, "Bubba, Bubba, what's wrong? What's wrong? Where's Nanny? Where's Nanny?" He said, "Bubba, I want to go home. I want to go home." He cried, and it was hard. Every time a DHS worker said that we were moving, it felt like getting hit by a car. I moved 6 times in 6 months. I kept moving back and forth, and I thought soon I might be going back to the shelter. But this family, they helped me with anything I asked for. They prayed for me. It was like God's love just come in to my house. I would like to challenge you guys from my story. Compare a home and a shelter and what you could do to change a child's life. My family changed mine, and you could do one too.
I'm Jill, and I'm JJ's adoptive mom. And I just want to tell you that when God called us to it, at first, my husband and I said no. We did not feel like we had what it took to be a foster parent. We especially didn't feel like we had what it took to foster older children. But the more God put it on our hearts, the more He showed us what His plan was for our family. I know there are others out there that God is calling to this. All you have to do is say yes, and He will take care of all the rest of it.
This is our action piece. It is a postcard that we will be handing out. On the front, it has a poem, and on the back, it has ways that you can help foster kids.
Thank you for listening and coming to our presentation.
We did our research on children's rights. My name is Brandon.
My name is Chase.
My name is Damien.
My name is Noah.
What are children's rights? Children's rights keep children safe and let them have a bright future. These are the most important rights that we decided. The right to live, the right to education, the right to privacy, and the right to food.
How have children's rights changed through time? From 1813 through 1975, states made education laws more specific. And here's the full timeline of my question right here. In 1813, children who lived in Connecticut that worked needed an education. In 1852, Massachusetts passed the first education law. In 1874, New York passed compulsory school attendance law, which means that you have to go to school. In 1975, a law for the education of handicapped children was passed. In 2000, the United Nations General Assembly created 2 more children's rights.
How are children's rights different from adult rights? Children's rights include school and education, but adults have the opportunity to vote at age 18 or over. They also have the right to choose a job that they want.
Are the opinions about children's rights same between us and other countries? In 1989, the Convention on Rights of the Child was held. The United States and Somalia have ratified the Convention on Rights of the Child. The United States and Somalia had the same opinion about children's rights.
How children's rights impact their life? Children have the right to go to foster care if they don't have what they need to live. They also have the right to go to school, have a good education, and have the right to good and healthy food.
How are America's children's rights connected to China's children's rights? The U.S. rights are similar in different countries. The one that I focused on is China. They have a one-child policy. America is a better place for a child.
How do we know children are given rights? They are given rights because in 1989, it was made a law. As the country reflected about children's rights, they got more specific on children's rights.
How can we help children without an education? You can donate money to SaveTheChildren.org so they can give children a healthy start and protection from harm. Thank you for listening to our exhibition presentation.
Voting rights. My name's Sierra.
I'm Derek.
I'm Vashawn.
And I'm Michael.
History of voting rights. What caused voting to change over the years? Congress passed the Voting Rights Act in 1965. It protects the rights of minority voters and eliminates voting barriers such as the literacy test. In 2003, the Federal Voting Standards and Procedures Act requires states to streamline voter registration, voting, and other election procedures.
How to get registered to vote in the U.S. You must be 18 years or older. Then you have to fill out a voter registration card, and you have to turn in the registration card in 30 days before Election Day.
What is the relationship between civil rights and voting rights? The relationship between civil rights and voting rights is that they both protect all races from discrimination and provides protection under the law.
What are the voting rights in other countries? In Canada, you need to be 18 or older to vote. You need to be 18 or older to vote, and you need to be a Canadian citizen. Instead of a president, they have a prime minister and a parliament. Canada has been voting since 1792, and they vote every 4 years.
In Japan, they vote every 5 years. Instead of a president, they have an emperor. To vote in Japan, you need to be 21 or older. In both countries, women and ethnic groups can vote.
How does voting work? Anyone who is a citizen and over 18 can vote. In the United States, we mostly vote for people who's going to represent us in government. This could be a wide variety of politicians, but usually we vote for someone who we think is going to vote for issues we find important.
What are the properties of voting rights? Voting rights give all Americans the right to vote. No one can be denied the right to vote because of their race or color. The law enforces these rights.
What caused everyone to vote the same? In 1790, only white male adult property owners had the right to vote. In 1850, almost all white males could vote. In 1870, former slaves were given the right to vote, but very few exercised their right because of intimidation. In 1920, the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. In 1965, the Voting Rights Act was passed. It protects the rights of minority voters and eliminates voting barriers such as the literacy test.
What is our voting responsibility? To vote in Texas, you must be registered. Simply pick up a voter registration application, fill it out, and mail it at least 30 days before election date. Anyone who is properly registered may vote in any election. If a voter has a disability or can't read or write, they may get special assistance. A voter may take off work in order to vote.
This is our quick PowerPoint. This is a picture of a badge that says vote in the United States colors and stars. And here is a video of history of voting.
In this scene from the 2012 movie, Abraham Lincoln spells out the terms of Reconstruction.
All they heard was the first time any president has ever made mention of Negro voting.
In 1865, he said freed slaves who were intelligent or had served as soldiers should be allowed to vote. The 14th Amendment, passed in 1868, guaranteed this right as part of the full citizenship accorded to African American men. But for much of the 20th century, voting remained a contentious issue. The 19th Amendment, ratified in 1920, gave women the right to vote, but the racial divide remained. Some states continued to limit voting, either through measures like the poll tax or direct intimidation of African American voters. In the South, there were even whites-only primaries.
We shall overcome someday.
This is Sam Tannenhouse of the New York Times. The first modern Civil Rights Act was signed by President Eisenhower in 1957. It created a federal commission authorized to enforce voting rights. Senator Strom Thurmond conducted the longest filibuster in history, more than 24 hours, in an effort to thwart the bill. But it passed.
The location for the meeting with Senator Rubicon.
Still, voting was not equal for all. Massive resistance in the Deep South was organized to keep blacks from the polls, and legal enforcement was hampered by all-white juries. Voting rights became a central issue in the civil rights movement.
I think this march will go down as one of the greatest.
In 1965, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. led the march from Selma to Montgomery for better voting laws. The nation was shocked by images of the marchers being attacked. And less than 5 months later, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It barred states and districts from curtailing the vote on the basis of race, color, or language.
It is wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country.
Sections 4 and 5 of the bill included special provisions to ensure fair voting practices in a number of states, most of them in the South. Voting rights advocates say some citizens there continue to be disenfranchised. But the Supreme Court's close ruling on Tuesday, striking down Section 4, suggests that conditions have changed since 1965, and it is left to Congress to reconsider the act.
is our action piece of a bookmark. It is how to register and how to vote. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Welcome to Let's End Slavery Today with your hosts, Christian and Dan, and with important news, Mia and Miguel.
First up, Mia with the history of slavery and the true story of a modern-day slave.
Past slavery. People were taken from other countries and forced to work for little or no pay. Having slaves was legal throughout the world, and some girls are forced to marry older men. Slaves used to cost a lot of money and were easily disposed of. Modern-day slavery. It is no longer legal to have slaves in America, yet there are slaves around the world. Today, there is no reason to keep slaves healthy or alive because they can be replaced quickly. Many younger slaves have to work in dangerous conditions. For example, Ramlo Kamar is a 13-year-old boy born in India. He was working in the carpet industry because his mom had no food to feed him. He would work from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. every night. If he gets cut while working, they will put his hand in boiling oil and made him get back to work. If he made a mistake, he would get hit with a stick. He was finally freed after a year. He states that he would not let anyone go into slavery even if it was a mistake, because they will beat you and hit you. Now back to you, Dan.
Slavery is caused by people who wanted to have workers but not being able to pay them. So people shipped people from one part of the world to another. Slaves get paid little to nothing in most cases, but if a slave does get paid, it is very little. In American money, their pay would be about 25 cents an hour. There's a connection between slaves and prisoners. That they both have to do forced labor, but a slave has to work around the clock. A prisoner has a schedule to follow. A slave rarely stops working, while a prisoner does not work more than 8 hours a day. There are two types of custody for a prisoner: minimum custody and medium custody. Minimum custody prisoners have more rights than medium custody prisoners, but slaves have no rights at all. And now back to you, Christian.
You may wonder how slaves are acquired. It began by the Europeans wanted land but didn't want to work. In return, they took in slaves. They took them in to work in mines, sugar plantations, and tobacco plantations. The slaves were purposely transported long distances so they couldn't return home easily. Many slaves had no chance of returning home, making it easier for slave owners. Forced labor is a type of enslavement used across the world to produce many products in our global supply chains. Fishing, textile, construction, minerals, and agriculture are types of labor people are forced to do. Supply needs and industry needs for cheap, unskilled labor are some of the leading causes of forced labor. There are 20.9 million people trapped in forced labor, and they are child and adult slaves. There are far more adult slaves than children, but they are both performing physical labor. There are about 168 million children around the world engaged in child labor. And now here's Miguel.
The experience of a slave. Harriet was involved in abolitionist organizations. She used the Underground Railroad, which provided safe havens and guidance for escaping slaves. Harriet went on many trips and found many slaves seeking freedom. All trips were successful, and she continued her slave-freeing trips. And now back to you, Dan. So, what can we do to help people living in slavery? We should speak up about slavery in other countries. This can be done by joining organizations such as the End It movement. They raise money and awareness of slavery in countries around the world.
Our action piece is a magnet, and on the magnet it has the organization we decided to join, and it says End It, shine a light on slavery. And at the bottom it says Let's End Slavery Together.
Hi, we are the Civil Rights Group. I'm Taya.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Tramel.
I'm Joseph.
What are civil rights? The rights of citizens to political and social freedom of equality. How have civil rights changed in the USA? Before the Civil Rights Campaign, white people were the only ones allowed to vote. Martin Luther King Jr. campaigned for the civil rights and brought massive international coverage to the movement. Then black women and men were able to vote.
How have civil rights developed in our country? Civil rights has developed in our country by individual people that stood up for their rights so that people could be treated equally no matter their race or gender. Why do we have civil rights? We have civil rights because of the brave men and women who stood up for minority groups and racial discrimination in the past and today.
What are civil rights in China? The estimate of people who don't have civil rights is 500,000. You will be charged, have a trial, or be arrested because of the lacking in civil rights. How is civil rights connected to voting rights? In the South before 1965, only white people were allowed to vote. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 changed the law, and it protected every American against racial discrimination in voting. After this act was passed, black people were able to vote without fear of segregation.
How do we know civil rights are improving in our country? Congress has prohibited discrimination in educational programs that receive government money. The laws say that all students must be included in the classroom and their talents developed to the fullest. There has not been research done on the impact of that civil rights laws have created, but sources say that removing the barriers equals better education. Minority students that enrolling in advanced placement classes has increased drastically over the years. What is our responsibility for civil rights dealing with education? It is our responsibility to provide scholarship opportunities for minority students, also to help people do good in school and let everyone be free in life.
Why do we need to know about civil rights? We need to learn about civil rights because of our history and how society acted and treated others in the past versus today. For example, in employment, people are treated equally today. However, in the past, some people couldn't get jobs or weren't equally because of their race, gender, or disabilities.
We see civil rights as an umbrella. Civil rights that fit beneath the umbrella of civil rights are equal employment opportunities, voting rights, freedom of religion, women's rights, right to a fair trial, equality regardless race, gender, or disability, and privacy rights.
The meaning of civil rights. The rights of citizens to political and social freedom and equal protected by the Constitution.
Our responsibilities. We think it is our responsibility to be educated on what our rights are and to make sure that others are our age also know their rights. We also think it is our responsibility to make sure that our rights are protected.
And those are our civil rights.
Preserve religious freedom. Preserve religious freedom. Ma'am, what's going on here?
It's an awareness rally. I came to America to have free religion. I can worship how I want.
In some other countries, people are persecuted because of their religion.
Preserve religious freedom. Preserve religious freedom.
Welcome to our presentation. I'm Brenda Vargas.
I'm Melissa Garza.
I'm Faith Alberti.
I'm Jordan Howard.
Our topic is preserving religious freedom.
What does freedom of religion mean? Freedom of religion means the right to believe in and practice whatever faith one chooses. People who want to study or lead others in various religions have the freedom to do so. It also includes the right of individuals to have no religious beliefs at all.
With freedom of religion, countries are more likely to live in peace with each other.
The First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. The First Amendment of the Constitution. If you have read the First Amendment, it says that it will protect several basic liberties. These liberties are the freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. The First Amendment protects Americans' religious freedom.
Freedom of religion in the First Amendment. Freedom of religion in the First Amendment says that it guarantees freedom of religion in 2 clauses. The first clause is called the establishment. The second clause is called free exercise. The establishment forbids the government from forming an official church. The free exercise allows people to worship as they please.
How do we know that people came to the United States for religious freedom? To avoid religious persecution in England, a group called separatists came to America in 1620. We now call them pilgrims. A pilgrim is a person who makes a journey for a religious reason. In 1629, another religious group called the Puritans came to America, and they were seeking for religious freedom. The United States has become the most religious diverse nation on earth. By the early 21st century, there are nearly 2,000 religious groups. Who determines what religion the citizens in that country have to be? It depends on the country. In some countries, the government decides. In a country like the United States of America, we each get to decide for ourselves.
Religious requirements of leaders in various other countries. Afghanistan, Algeria, Brunei, Iran, Jordan, Malaysia, Morocco, Oman, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Somalia, Syria, and Tunisia. All leaders have to be Muslim. Andorra and Lebanon's leaders have to be Christian. Thailand and Bhutan's leaders have to be Buddhist. Burma, Costa Rica, Mexico, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Venezuela's, El Salvador, and Honduras's leaders have to be non-clergy.
How does having a forced religion impact the citizens in other various countries? Having a forced religion is a life or death situation. If you're not that religion you're told to be, you can either be killed, sent to prison, harassed, or ignored by other people.
How does freedom religion make people happy? Freedom religion makes people happy because they are able to follow their beliefs and their gods without the fear of being punished. If people are able to buy principles but of that religion or no religion at all, they can feel confident and that they are doing what they think is right. They are able to live in peace according to what they hold, beliefs that they hold.
How has the freedom of religion changed over time? There used to be no such thing as the freedom of religion. The religion of the king or queen of that country determined the religion of everyone who lived there. Now there are more countries that have the freedom of religion, and it can be expressed more openly. This means people don't have to be afraid of being persecuted or made fun of because of their religion.
These are the 5 major religions around the world.
Christianity is the world's largest religion in the world, with over 2 billion Christians. It was a teaching of Jesus Christ. Christians believe that Jesus was the Son of God who came to save humankind and die on the cross. Three days later, rose from them. For that, all of our sins were forgiven, so there we can have eternal life in heaven.
Islam. Islam was founded in 610 CE by Muhammad. People who practice Islam are called Muslims, who worship Allah. He gave spiritual writings to Muhammad to teach truth and justice to all.
Hinduism. Hinduism was found somewhere in 1500 BC. There are various gods representing different parts of the religions. Being mindful and doing good deeds stop meaningless cycles and improves purity of your actions.
Buddhism. Buddhism started somewhere around 525 BC. It was the teaching of Buddha who received enlightenment through intense meditation. Buddha thought life was full of pain. To break that cycle and achieve peace into the world, one must do good deeds and be mindful. Buddhism worshippers are all over the world, but mostly in Asia.
Judaism. Judaism was found somewhere around 2000 BC by Abraham. They believed in one God. They believed in being faithful and following his laws found in Torah and Hebrews Bible. Many Judaism worshippers live in the U.S. and Israel.
And this is our action piece. In the front it says preserving religious freedom, and in the back it says the First Amendment.
This card is to remind you that our country promotes freedom of religion and it can be protected by the First Amendment. Use this as a reminder that religious freedom is not preserved everywhere, so we are lucky to live in America. Thank you for visiting our presentation.
You have just seen 6 outstanding exhibitions by 5th graders at Mountainview Elementary. Mountainview, a primary years program school, international baccalaureate, and with me is longtime teacher. I say long time, 12 years you've been at it. This is Patricia Morgan, actually a University High School graduate. We're proud to have her stay in the district and teach these kids. Once again, exhibition time is here.
It is.
And these 5th graders have been working long and hard on these things. Talk about the pride that you have in seeing their product.
Oh, their product and the process is what makes it so amazing. Just going from, we need help with the research, to the putting your bibliographies together, to getting their board together. And sometimes you think, I just don't think this is gonna get done, come on guys. And then the last week, it all comes together. Like, I mean, it's magical how it just comes together and how they get their products and how they present. And the process is wonderful.
And when it all comes together, a teacher gets proud.
Of course.
Because she knows that they're going to have to use these skills in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and on.
Yes.
How important is it that these skills, they learn them right here in the 5th grade?
It's wonderful to know that the skills that we are teaching them will transfer through all of those years. And seeing some of my previous students that I know who did exhibition the past 5 years, they come up and tell me the best thing we did was researching through exhibition. It really got us prepared.
That's right. So you have some of your former 5th graders and some 4th graders who did this exhibition in college or heading that way.
Heading that way, definitely. Heading that way.
They're definitely in high school.
They are. Don't remind me.
Talk about how hard this is for you and your fellow teachers. I mean, this is a challenge for you guys too.
It is difficult. I mean, you can't say that it's, you know, it's a great process, but it can be very stressful, especially when you've got some groups that, you know, are go-getters and some groups that just need a little bit of a push to kind of get through. And some of the students really need to have some great confidence. And just being the teacher and pushing them through that, it really does come together and letting them know that their confidence is being built. And when they're ready to present, they've got all those skills and they're just ready to go.
Well, talk about the progress they make when you take some, you know, pretty shy young man or young woman and you give them a microphone and all of a sudden they take off like they did for us today. We're so proud of them. How does it make a teacher feel?
It makes us feel so wonderful and so proud. And you know, sometimes there are students who just cannot get over that shyness. And so they will have different jobs to do. Everybody does something for the group, and anything that you do is always beneficial. And so they might have 4 or 5 lines, but they might have created the whole board themselves, put that board together with the help of their group.
You use the strength of the student.
Always.
Right.
Always.
Talk about working with your fellow teachers, because a little different this year. I mean, you had some teams comprised of different classrooms.
Yes, we did. We took lots of different students and we placed them on the choices that they made. And we didn't limit them to the class, to our own individual classroom. We wanted to mix up all the students. It was new to us, so we had to work out some quirks for us, but we really enjoyed going through that process, getting to know other students from other classrooms and how they learn.
I know you're proud of them.
Thank
you
you
so much, Patricia
Thank you.
Morgan, and enjoy your parent night tonight as the parents come and look at these very impressive exhibitions. Once again, you've been watching Mountain View 5th grade exhibitions on WISD TV. This is Dale Caffey reporting from Mountain View Elementary, where there are learners today, leaders tomorrow.